The Ryazan oil refinery in Russia came under attack by Ukrainian drones. This information was confirmed by the head of the Center for Countering Disinformation, Enrika Varenkova, on her Telegram channel. According to the Russian Ministry of Defense, 10 regions were under attack today. Russian air defense systems allegedly destroyed 139 Ukrainian UAVs. However, Russia has admitted that they are unable to cope with the attacks by Ukraine's defense forces on oil refineries. In this regard, the Russian Ministry of Defense has decided to involve reservists to guard these facilities. This refers to Russians who have voluntarily signed a contract to be in the mobilization reserve. Their primary task will be to try to shoot down Ukrainian drones. Ivan Stupak, military analyst and employee of the Security Service of Ukraine from 2004 to 2015, is joining our broadcast. Ivan, welcome. Glory to Ukraine.
Yuri, hello. Thank you for the invitation. Glory to the heroes.
Ivan, tell us, how do you view, let's say, the developing situation, let's put it that way, with the targeting of these infrastructure facilities, oil refineries and so on? Because we understand that not only facilities or plants involved in the oil or gas industry are coming under attack.
I have no objections. I support this. Let's keep going. You absolutely correctly pointed out that if earlier, just a month or a month and a half ago, we were talking exclusively about oil industry facilities, there was a refinery, then an oil depot, then another refinery, and so on in a cycle. But in the last few weeks, we're talking about not just several Russian refineries, how many already? But now there are power facilities, which is very interesting, and there are also chemical industry sites. Wow, that's even more interesting. And we're talking, for example, about the Plastmass plant, which literally just today exploded quite significantly, and which is now being widely mentioned in Russian social media with reports of a large number of casualties and repeated detonations. Again, we're talking about gas infrastructure facilities, like in Orenburg, literally at the beginning of the week, as the rumor mill goes. This enterprise is the only one in the Russian Federation that produces a special chemical odorant, which is added to natural gas. In other words, there are no other such facilities. In a nutshell, for those who missed school chemistry, natural gas is just gas, no color, no smell. And that distinctive smell is an artificial chemical additive which is added exclusively at this enterprise, which for now, preliminarily, we say, has stopped operating. That's why the geography is expanding and the range of enterprises is growing. I think that by New Year, we will see some more new and interesting facilities that will be damaged.
Tell me, will this push the terrorist federation to take any real steps in that direction? Let's put it this way, at least to the start of some kind of dialogue. Why am I asking? Why? Look, Ivan, well, you can brag all you want. Yes, we're fine. Well, okay, fine. But we also understand that things aren't as great for them as they'd like to show.
Once again, I'll repeat myself. I'm sure that at this stage, unfortunately, it won't work. And I'll try to explain why, yes, it's right to say, and they are showing off, but what does the Russian Federation have left? For now, it's money that, well, to a greater or lesser extent they have. Let's just figure it out, and translate all those trillions upon trillions of rubles that are currently planned in the 2026 budget. The Russian budget for 2026 allocates approximately 177 billion euros for national defense, for all security forces, and for the military. 177 billion euros. Okay, those are big numbers. And for supporting, for example, Russian propaganda, which is the link that keeps the masses obedient, aside from, of course, the security forces, about 1.5 billion euros. That is, this is only what is planned. So for now, unfortunately, with the whip and the television, the Kremlin is defeating ordinary Russians. Even if tomorrow there is nothing, which is the case in most regions, even if there is no electricity, no heat, that electricity, heat, and the lavender raft will still be in Moscow. On the Patriarch Ponds, somewhere on the Frunzenskaya embankment, then with a 99% probability, everything will remain unchanged. If things look good in Moscow, the lights are on, it's like Disneyland, then no one will rise up against the authorities.
And you don't allow for, yes, any of these centrifugal forces?
Well, I do allow for them, of course I do, I want to count on that, but I don't want to mislead your audience into thinking that, for example, if we now create terrible living conditions in the Belgorod and Bryansk regions, then this centrifugal force will suddenly spin up Dagestan, I don't know, Ingushetia, Chita, Chelyabinsk in some kind of whirlwind, And then it will sweep away Moscow. Well, we've already seen this, and we approach such assessments very cautiously. We need to make as much effort as possible to create as many problems as possible, really, in all regions. And then, indeed, the problems will be quite diverse. Electricity, gas, thermal energy, some technological shutdowns, stoppages at major enterprises, plus major problems in the economy. And then it really might have some impact, but for now, as of now, honestly, it's not apparent.
Tell me, regarding the latest decisions by the United States and the European Union towards the Russian Federation, the sanctions pressure, the tightening of all these restrictions. It's clear that the wheels of these mills turn slowly, yes, but one way or another they are wearing down the Russian economy. We've already discussed that there are certain resources available, and Putin will try to use them in one way or another, but still. So how do you assess the latest decisions from Brussels and Washington? And I'd also like you to comment on the information that has emerged regarding the lifting of restrictions on the range of certain strikes. And then Trump comes out in all his glory and says, "What, me? No. Never in my life. Me? No." They write something about fake news, but...
Got it. Look, regarding the American sanctions that have been imposed, there are huge lists, a roster of companies, sanctions. Here, I leave this question to the people who have specialized in the oil and gas industry for many years, so they can clearly say whether these sanctions will really hurt the Russian Federation, or if they were imposed just for show, as they say, hitting the tail where there's nothing and no one left. And once again, it's purely a formality. I think that today or tomorrow we will already have such an analysis, meaning it will be done very professionally. Regarding the European sanctions, I am more optimistic here because additional sanctions were imposed on the shadow fleet of the Russian Federation, on the tankers that the Russian Federation uses to transport its sanctioned goods, Russian oil. More than about 117 tankers have been added to the lists, and now the Russian Federation's tanker fleet is being significantly reduced, it's worth less, and transportation will likely become more expensive. And these will be financial costs that will fall on the Russian budget and on the Russian consumer. And what I also really liked is the ban on the movement of Russian diplomats across the territory of the European Union. And now their work is limited exclusively to their place of assignment. If it's a Russian diplomat, say, I don't know, the second secretary of the Russian embassy in Prague, he does not have the right to travel somewhere to Vienna, to Athens, to go to Lisbon. He has Prague, that's it. So please stay here and do your work. Another question is how this will be controlled. There's no answer yet. I don't know, maybe hypothetically implant a chip in him or put some kind of, a tracker on his leg. An ankle bracelet, an ankle monitor. There's no clear understanding yet, but at the very least, such legal restrictions are a very good thing.
Ivan, thank you very much for the conversation. Thank you for joining us. Ivan Stupak, military analyst, employee of the Security Service of Ukraine. From 2004 to 2015, he was with us live. We're taking a short break, and after that we'll return to discuss a new topic. Stay tuned.